This episode is sponsored in part by PTZOptics. Why hire a camera operator when the control is in your hands? Visit PTZOptics.com for more information. And by NewTek, makers of the TriCaster TC1. Stun your viewers, not your accountant. Visit newtek.com for more information.
Hey guys, well, it's that time of the month again, time for Salt Talk. I am your host, Stephen Haywood, and you're probably wondering where Julia is. Julia has moved on to other things. So we're going to be introducing a new co-host this week. So I'm really excited about that. Somebody that can really speak about the topic that is at hand, and that is international streaming solutions. So, but before we do that, we want to take care of some housekeeping, if you will. For some reason, I can't get my Facebook was hacked earlier this week, and I had to change the password. And I'm not getting comments, but I'm going to check the comments. So if you don't see your comment and you're on Facebook, you don't see it come up on a lower third, don't freak out. We'll get it ironed out. But unfortunately, Facebook sends me a notification saying unauthorized, so we couldn't do anything about that. But YouTube, we see you guys on there. We're gonna welcome all you guys there. We see the Gospel Source. Good day from Long Island. Very, very excited to have you guys here. And where else? Where else are you guys from? We got Indonesia here. That's good, because we're going to be talking all things international. We got Rochester, New York here. We've got Eric. We've got Kyle. Kyle's in the house. Greg Terry's in the house. Dave is in the house from Appleton. I think that's Wisconsin. So it's great to have you guys here with us, and we're gonna have some fun today. But I also want to let you know about some of the other shows that we do here on PTZOptics. Tomorrow, you definitely don't want to miss this. They're going to be doing a NAB 22 preview. Test for Testo and crew are going to be doing a live show for HuddleCam and PTZOptics at 2 p.m. Eastern. You definitely don't want to miss that. It's going to be a great time. And every third Friday of the month, myself, Matt Davis, and William Goldie do Tech Town Hall, and you don't want to miss that. If you're into the geeky, nerdy side of things, want to know the ins and outs of how things work, you don't want to miss that show. I know Matt Davis is going to lead us in a discussion of IP technology and how you can better your network. You don't want to miss that show. If you're struggling with how NDI feeds work on your network, Matt's going to show you the ideal way to set up your network so it doesn't get messed up. So that's one thing you want to tune in for. We still see some others here coming in here. We've got it looks like we got Gary coming in here from, let me pull it up here, from Mississippi. We've got aerial video photos from Jackson, New Jersey. We've got JV Studios in the house from Louisiana. Tim Daughtery, I think that's how you say his name, Belfast Island. And we've got Beyond the Gavel, Joe from Bowie, Maryland. And then we've got Finland in the house. On that note, we're going to introduce our co-host. You guys have seen him before. He's been on the Worship Summit. Pastor, broadcaster.
Come on, man.
Missionary, all in one. We've got Mr. Greg Terry here from the Greg Terry Experience. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Stephen. It is a joy to be here. And I'm excited to be here and be a part of this once a month with you guys. I've been watching Salt Talk for a while, and I enjoy the program, actually. And now I get to participate and help you guys get the message out. So it's going to be good. Now, for our guys, first of all, he was from Belfast, Ireland.
Oh, Ireland. I'm sorry.
Ireland. It's all right. I will help you with the international stuff. And then our dear friend there, Risto Jarnin from Finland, and Ari Patterson from Meham, Norway. Welcome to you international guys. I have been in all of your nations, actually, and I love Finland. In fact, I spent lots of time in Helsinki, Finland, and I will tell you guys this, just a little bit of trivia here. The best roads that I have ever driven on for quality, Helsinki, Finland, period, bar none. And they have horrible, brutal winters, but they know how to build their roads. So
it must be
welcome to all of you guys.
It must be because they don't have horse and buggies on the
No,
roads over
they do
there.
not have the Amish horse and buggies. Although we love the Amish, no
We
problem
do,
there. But
yes,
yeah,
the horse
no,
and
they have
buggies.
some incredible technology, and I think, Stephen, that will help push us to what you're intending to talk about today
Yeah.
in Salt Talk, and that is international technology,
Yep.
churches, international companies, whatever it may be. How do they handle their streaming solutions?
Well, one of the things I want to kick this off with, because some of the folks may never have seen you, and maybe they didn't catch your Worship Summit presentation that you did 2 Worship Summits ago. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about your background. Before the pandemic, you were a traveling minister. You went to different countries, as you mentioned. You speak a lot of different languages, but it kind of forced you to reach that international audience, right? Doing what you're
Yeah,
doing now.
yeah, we've made an adjustment. Actually, when the pandemic struck March the 12th, I mean, it was, and we're not here to discuss pandemics and politics and any of those things, but when the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic, I was actually on a flight to Tanzania. I was heading over there to do some ministry and do some different things. Supposed to be there 2 to 3 weeks. Ended up only being able to be there 6 days. I was able to get on the last flight out of Dar es Salaam and actually get home. Had to do the 2-week quarantine because everything was such an unknown at that point. Then during that time, that's when you had to make the adjustment. If you want to continue to communicate and work, especially if you're international, but even for your local situation, life really changed. And, of course, now we've entered into a new time with the war that is happening in Russia and Ukraine. That also creates a different environment, not only for Russia and Ukraine, but also for the world. I've worked in 38 nations. I've worked in Ukraine specifically for 25 years, in Russia since 1994. I speak the Russian language, so it affected what I do, which is a very intense workload in Ukraine and Russia. So the power of technology, it was the best thing and the worst thing that happened to us. When the world changes, you're still able to do what God or you feel your life calling is. And so it's very important that we learn it, do it right, and then use it so that we can still continue to be who we're intended to be.
Now you're also, now that you've been kind of, we'll say you're grounded right now. You're kind of stuck in our country, so to speak. No, I don't mean stuck in a bad way, but you also work in a church as well locally. Um,
hmm
you are a worship pastor, right?
Yeah, I'm a worship pastor. I'm an evangelist. I do travel a lot. Hopefully that will return. I can tell you right now, I'm scheduled to be in Africa here in a month or so, but I'm adjusting that because the first opportunity I get, my base of operations is actually in Ukraine. Um, so the first opportunity I get, I will be in Ukraine. Of course, I'm not there right now. I have a wife and children, so they're not allowing me to go. In fact, I wanted to just go anyway, and even my mother. I'm 49 years old, and my mother said, "You're not going to Ukraine until the war's over." I said, "Okay, Mom." But yeah, but locally, we have a wonderful church here. I'm based in Northwest Pennsylvania, and minister the gospel, lead worship. Got a great technology team. Stephen, you and I have been friends now for a few years, and God has really blessed us in that situation where we've been able to help each other. So it's amazing. Everything works together for a purpose if you just keep going. That's the technology message. You cannot become frustrated, and you cannot allow the situation around you, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's, oh, well, I don't have this equipment, I don't have that, to stop you from what you feel called to do. You find a way to make it happen.
And that's something that I kind of wanted to put out. And we're not going to get into the political side and side of the war, whatever. But one of the things that you've been able to accomplish during this hard time with the Ukraine and with over there in the Middle East with Russia, you've been able to bring in different pastors remotely using technology, being able to use just simple an iPhone or an Android device to speak with them and really get the boots on the ground information, so to speak, without all the fuss and the muss, if you will. And you've been doing this regularly since the war started to really give people a real update and how they can help and contribute. And I think this is something that a lot of people think they got to get all this expensive gear. Now, you do have a studio, don't get me wrong, but you've been getting pastors on from all over the place with just a simple cell phone, right?
Yeah. So I run a full studio, and that's really a big thanks to PTZOptics. That's a big thanks to Stephen Haywood. They have assisted me in putting this together, and I couldn't have done it without them. I run vMix. I run Live to Air from NeuralNet, John Mahoney. I've had help from Jodamax with Central Control. All these different companies that Stephen has helped connect me to. They really caught a vision for what I do. During the pandemic, I do 2 updates a week. We talk about the world situation. We talk about the Christian perspective. We talk about how we can make a difference in the world. And it's really grown. And that's on my YouTube channel. And Stephen's got it there on the bottom. But day one, I was actually sitting in my studio preparing a regular program, and I was sent a message. Greg, a missile just hit our city. And I messaged back and said, what are you talking about? A missile hit your city? I mean, the moment it happened, I was messaged. This is how close I work with Ukraine and Russia, to be fair. And I said, what are you talking about? It's the middle of the night. He goes, Greg, we're being bombed. I said, what? Of course, start diving in the middle of the night. And yes, there was an invasion happening. And that was 34 days ago. On that day, I made the decision. I'm 49 years old. I've been working there since I was 21. You have to understand, these people are not just friends. They are my family. I have an apartment in Ukraine. I have a secondary residence there. I've lived over 2 years of my life in that country. At that moment, I made the decision, and that was cooperating, of course, with my home church here, who would really do the financing side, who would do the administration side. I said, I'm going online every night. I can tell you right now, this is going to be mass media confusion. This is going to be conspiracy theories. It's all going to start flying. I want to try to bring a little bit of the truth each night. So starting night 1, I was live, and just a few hours after the missiles were flying, I had a pastor, a friend of mine, on live with me, 9 o'clock Eastern, and we were talking about the war and what's going on and telling the truth and looking at real information and real data. And that started night 1. I'm running all of this technology here. He literally sits down in his kitchen on 4G, flips his iPhone sideways. I bring him in, and you would think we're having a Hollywood production. And for an hour, we were discussing, not just the invasion, but we were discussing, how do you feel? What does that do to you, mentally and your feelings on the inside when you're being attacked. And it really just launched. And the next thing I know, this really started to snowball. So each night, I give live updates. I do live interviews, and most of these guys are calling me in the middle of their night on a phone with a 4G connection. Wi-Fi is spotty there now due to the war. But my point being is, if you want to accomplish something technologically, there's always a way.
Right. That's why I wanted to bring that up, because I wanted people to see that, even through this troubling time where, things can be happening, you're using simple things like a cell phone. I want to kind of move forward a little bit into houses of worship, and I want you guys in the chat room to get involved in this as well. What are some of the things that you've seen, Greg, in your travels? Are a lot of countries streaming their church services, their house of worship services? Are they doing things just setting a cell phone up? What are some of the things that you've seen? And if you guys are in another country and you're doing something spectacular, don't be afraid to put it in the chat room. We want to know. I'll pull those comments up. But what have you seen as you've kind of made your way around the world?
Well, here's what I can tell you looking at the chat first before I go there is, you give a Finn a compliment about how beautiful Helsinki is and how beautiful the roads are. The next thing you know, more Finns start showing up. We love Finland. And I actually have worked a lot in Tallinn, Estonia, and taken the fast ship from Tallinn to Helsinki many, many, many times. That trip across the Baltic Sea is gorgeous. So let's talk about that, Stephen. Here's what I can tell you. Is it all right if I tell the truth?
Absolutely. We don't want you to
Okay.
lie on the program.
Okay. Every international country that I have worked in, which is 38 of them, is full of very talented people, very gifted people. And many of the nations that I work in are not as economically blessed as we are in America and many of the European nations. They have to find a way. You asked about some specifics. Let me take you to a town in Africa, in the nation of Tanzania. It's called Iringa. It's in the very center of Tanzania. Up in the mountains, a city of about 130,000 people. This city does not even have a grocery store. Everything's in the markets. It doesn't even have a real hotel. You stay at little like bed and breakfasts when we're there ministering and traveling. The church is built out of mud bricks. They do a beautiful stream every Sunday because even though they're in the middle of nowhere, they have incredible cellular coverage there in literally the middle of nowhere. And through cellular connectivity, Facebook Live, they set their iPhone up and they stream their service, and it's a wonderful event. Sound is decent, but it doesn't even matter because what is happening is the joy, the truth is getting out and efforts are being made. I'll take you now to Istanbul, Turkey, where a very good friend of mine ministers there, Christian church. It's very, very dangerous to have a Christian church in Turkey, but they have resources there. He actually got permission to stream his services, bought a little 2-camera setup, has a little video mixing board, runs in the audio from his sound, and does a phenomenal job streaming his service. He's connected to the internet. It's Istanbul, Turkey. I then take you to Ukraine right now. Let's go to Khmelnytsky, Ukraine, a city in central to western Ukraine. I think the old Barbara Mandrell song, it might have been Barbara Mandrell, said, I was country or when country wasn't cool.
Country. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it was Barbara Mandrell or not, but I was country when country wasn't cool. All right. Africa is in from Cabo Verde. Welcome, Africa. Yes.
I wanted to bring up this comment really quick if we can. We've got Zach Berry in the chat room, and he says, hey, we started with a cell phone only. Then we used the computer to integrate the sound system and used an app to use my phone as the camera in OBS. Now I have a USB camera with the setup streaming to Facebook and upload to live stream. So, Zach, where are you based out of? That would be great. And he goes on to say, we recently had one of our missionaries to India with us, and he asked us not to live stream that service. And maybe you could speak on that too, now that he brought that up. Why some missionaries request that things are not live streamed? That's a very good question.
Well, there can be multiple reasons for that, but let's go to his first comment. His first comment was, you could see a progression of growth. I think that's what is important. This is Salt Talk. This gets down to the brass tacks of how to grow and how to get better. What you see with that comment, first of all, is they started here and then they went to here and went to here. The Bible says it like this: we grow from faith to faith or glory to glory. I know I can't add to scripture, but I can say this: we grow from stream to stream. So we're constantly trying to get better. And now, in regard to sometimes foreign missionaries or even foreign guests that may come to your church would say, hey man, please do not stream that. You know, many countries are not like the United States or like European nations or like even some of the African nations. It's a challenge. Sometimes we have to tell facts, we have to share things that maybe locals nations do not want to know and or do not want to hear, or it's even not permitted. So we have to be sensitive to that. And you say, well, what's the chance of, you know, somebody in India getting that and hearing that? It's on the internet. It's possible. I will give you a real life example right now. The war in Ukraine, in the city of Melitopol, which is down in the southern part of Ukraine. It would be 9 days ago now. A pastor friend of mine was kidnapped, and he was taken for 8 days. He was just released yesterday, but he was held captive for 8 days. And basically the purpose was to try just to get people to soften up in the Christian community or in the city to be more open to what was going on in the war scene. And fortunately, you know, he was returned to his family and church, but they are now in that war zone. They're not even able to have service right now. So when he was kidnapped, we were very selective on what we could share, what we could talk about, because it was for his protection. You can't just come on and start ripping stuff. You have to remember, unlike any time before, I think the global pandemic and the war between Russia and Ukraine shows us this. The power of technology is real. And if you do not think that you can make a difference by putting, you know, your messages, your sermons, your data, your news, your entertainment, whatever, on the web, on the internet, then I think this has been a couple of years that teaches us the power of streaming. I personally think television's yesterday's story.
No, I would agree with that, and I think the radio is the same way. This is the new radio, and Zach also put in a comment. He's based out in Kentucky, and this is something that I know a lot of people they struggle with. They struggle with the growth process part of this. And I mentioned earlier on, for you Facebook folks, I mentioned earlier on Facebook wasn't working. I got everything authenticated while Greg was talking about that. So we're doing it on the fly. We're making it work. So everything's good on that point. Test per Testo in the chat room says,
Welcome,
show's
Tess.
looking great, guys. So we appreciate that as well. But guys, put in your setups. It's okay if you're based in the U.S., but if you're doing some work, I think, Greg, I remember when I was in the Mennonite church growing up, and we always had missionaries to China and to Russia and all these other countries, and the only way you could really talk to them, if you were lucky, was through a payphone that they would call into the church phone, and then you wire it through the conference system, which then plays through. They would run a long cable from the pastor's office out to the soundboard, play it through the sound system, and that's how you would engage with the missionary. Nowadays, you can do FaceTime, like you were saying with what you were doing earlier. You got Skype, you've got live to air, you've got all these options, Zoom, and you can bring that real-time message from wherever they're at using the simple technologies that we have.
You know,
available.
Stephen, if I had thought about it, which I should have, I try to always think about everything. We could have demonstrated this so easily today. I could have a call in from Ukraine or Africa right now just to demonstrate how quick and easy we could do it. So we'll do that on the next one. But, you know, when I was first traveling in Russia and Ukraine specifically, you're right. Technology was so different there. And this is in the 90s. I couldn't even make a phone call. I would have to make an appointment to make a phone call. There was no cellular service. Email and the internet was just growing. So if I wanted to communicate back, I would literally have to schedule a phone. I would have to take these cards with me, and that's how I would pay for the call. I would be connected to a European operator who would then connect me to a New York operator. And the greatest words I would ever hear when I'm over there for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, had not spoken to my family for 2 weeks, was this: New York, AT&T operator, how may I place your call? And it was like, heaven was raining down. I was able finally to hear some English and connect back to my family and talk to my family. That's not that long ago, and that's how we had to communicate, and that's how missionaries would get the message. And now, literally, what, 20 years later, 25 years later,
Yep.
there are no limitations.
Well,
the only limitations we have are the ones that we put ourselves in. There's always a way.
Well, and you have studios in your home now before you need to do what. So I guess my question to you is,
you have
go ahead.
A studio in your hand.
Yeah, you have a studio in your hand. Actually, your studio in your pocket, because doing that.
Well, here's the deal, Stephen. When I started doing these nightly Ukraine war updates on my YouTube channel, and I had to make a quick trip down to Virginia, and I'm traveling back. You remember this? I called you, and I said, Stephen, I'm down here. I'm not going to make it back to the studio, but I'm committed to doing these updates. People are donating funds, and they're waiting every night, and this is really snowballing on me. There's lots of people watching. I can't miss a night. I committed to this. What can I do? He says, man, all you got to do is just go straight to the restream and do it right from your phone. And I'm sitting in a gas station parking lot, literally talking to the entire world through 4G or LTE, whatever I was on.
He even parked underneath a street lamp just so he could get some more lighting. That was hilarious.
I had special lighting that night.
So
I did hear I did see the question on the earbuds.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that up real quick right now. So Greg and I are both wearing, I think they're the Shure 525.
That's
if I'm not
correct.
Mistaken. They are expensive. They're probably about $500 and some, but they are very comfortable to wear. They have different size ear foam that goes in your ear. Greg wears one. I like wearing them both. I like to be isolated because I want to hear for any noise. I don't want to hear room noise. But again, as a musician, I'm a drummer, so I'm in a drum cage. I want both in. He's leading worship. He needs to hear the crowd. He needs to hear.
I'm a one-ear guy. You're a two-ear guy.
Yes,
that's okay. I'll forgive you.
So, I guess my question to you. So, okay, you're before the big boom of media as we have it right now, the live stream effect. Before cell phones were capable of doing this. You would travel to another country, you would hold a church service, or you would do a special night service, whatever it was, revival service. How did you just record that to a cassette tape? I mean, were people able to watch this? Were they streaming anything? Were they recording anything with cameras?
There was no streaming at that time, and of course this was pre-stream, so what we would do then actually is, we're talking back to the VHS-C or the 8mm. We go, you shoot some film, you come home, you edit it up, you put it on a DVD, and you mail it out to churches and to people so that they could at least get an update. You're talking about a torturous process. And now the transition that has happened in literally, 2 decades?
Yep. A lot's changed.
Stephen, I can do more now, and it's not about me, it's just technology. In 1 hour, sitting right here.
Here, let me get rid of the
I can do more for you. I can do more in 1 hour with all of this horsepower that you guys have helped me build than I can do. I could have done in a week back just 20 years ago. So one of the things about technology is not only do we need to push to get our message out and start where we're at, use the tools we have, but remember, it's always a growth process, and you stay encouraged because you know that there's always something better you can do. And it's not for you, it's for the people that you were trying to serve, minister to, communicate with. It's really a step-by-step process. But yeah, in the old days, when there was no streaming, it was nothing but manual labor. It was torture, absolute torture.
So PMK Productions in the chat room makes a very valid point here. He says, I think there's no more that concept of international streaming. Anything in the internet is by definition instantly international. It's just streaming. And he's absolutely right. That barrier of you're in this country, I'm in this country is gone, right?
100%.
It's just that there are certain countries that it took a while for it to adopt, right? Or their government doesn't allow certain things to happen. We all know that. So, no, that's a very valid point. Anything on the internet,
Stephen, I'm a 2 million miler on Delta Airlines. That means
I'm sure you are.
I have Delta literally.
You probably own stock.
No, it's like ingrained, marked in the back of my back from where you sit on the logo on the airplane seats. But that's just a lot of travel. But maybe to.
I was gonna say Eric Parsons got a comment here. He says he remembers doing 30 DVDs at the end of his service.
And you'd have the big duplicator. Oh, I'm making 8 DVDs at one time. We are high tech. Okay, yeah, but here's the deal. That comment that was up, if you could throw that back up about the international streaming,
sure,
from PMK Productions, and I think he is from is
it Portuguese or
Spanish speaking?
Oh, Spanish, okay,
or Portuguese or something. I'm sure he'll tell us. He's right. Let me explain it to you this way. When I used to travel in the 90s, early 2000s, and I would go to these countries, I would pack like it was a major big deal. All the preparation, all the thinking. But as technology changed, and that includes streaming, travel changed, borders changed, life changed. Honestly, for me now, I live in Pennsylvania. I do a lot of work in California, Nevada as well. If my flight leaves at 3 o'clock, I throw some stuff in a bag at noon and head to the airport. Now, if I jump on a bird and I head to London and my flight leaves at 3, at noon, I just throw some stuff in a bag and I head to the airport. The world through technology has gotten smaller. And that guy, respectfully, is spot on. We're one big streaming family now, and it's instant, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
No, he's Portuguese living in Cabo.
That's it. Cabo Verde.
So let me ask you, let me put this out there, because I know there's probably some international folks here that maybe they don't have a lot of means in their churches, in their houses of worships, their synagogues, whatever their poison is, so to speak. What would you
just call a church poison?
Did I No, the whole naming scheme, I think, is just you can go down rabbit holes. So I do. I say it's kind of like it's kind of. No, I wouldn't say that. But I mean, people. Well, people get hung up on denominations. They get hung up on
correct.
Different religious bases.
Whatever river you're floating in.
That works too. Yeah, it's like always like the old saying, pick your poison, right? So
I understood you.
So, I wasn't knocking anybody. So
this is international.
If you're
whatever river you're in,
if you're someone out there that wants to live stream, you're out there in those locations. How is the cell signal? I mean, we talked about just getting started. You have a video production company sitting in your pocket, your smartphone. Most of these folks probably have a smartphone, whether it's iPhone or Android, whatever it is. How, in your opinion, was the cell phone reception in those areas? Is it doable if you get like a nice stand and to record or stream a live service?
Stephen, I can tell you from my experience. Right now, my middle daughter lives in Mexico. She's down there learning the language and serving in a church. Brother, the cellular infrastructure and even the internet itself with the Mexican companies is phenomenal. And nice. I always used to make this statement even 10 years ago. I literally could be riding through the countryside of Ukraine. And I'm talking about the middle of nowhere. And I had such incredible cellular coverage. My experiences in remote places, Africa, Amazon jungle. There are places where I'm like shocked. I'm going, where is the cell tower? And I'm getting wonderful coverage. And I know it's not everywhere. And you may be watching today is you going, hold on now, you don't know where I live. I'm in the middle of nowhere and I don't have any cell coverage. And that I'm sure that's true. but in many of the nations where I've traveled, it actually surprised me how good, how much quality and what's the word? Not speed, but just the depth of the cellular power. I've always said it was ahead of us in America. Honestly, I can sit in my town and struggle sometimes. And honestly, Stephen, the tower's right there, 500 yards away.
And it's funny, you get it in the rainforest.
and I'm sitting here heading into the Amazon jungle going, hey, I'm rolling. Call my wife. I don't get it. But, you know, that's just my experience. I know there are areas where it's not that way. But there is really good coverage.
There's a great comment in the chat room here. I had it pulled up earlier, but from Timo Sund. He said, world is small. Last service I was streaming had many foreign viewers, mainly from Canada and the U.S. And I agree with that statement. Ever since I started streaming online, doing things online, I've realized how small the world really is. We talk about how big the world is, but even from a church streaming perspective, you're able now to continue your work. You're able now to continue growing, you know, what you're doing, and have many other opportunities to arrive in person in different countries as you're going to start traveling. That, I think, is pretty cool, because people that you would normally not have met because of the internet, you are now able to meet and potentially have an opportunity to go in and speak at their house of worship, or just, you know, meet with different folks, you know, hey, you need prayer, whatever, you know.
It's shocking, to be quite honest with you. And on the nightly streams now, especially because it's such a sensitive subject, and it's really probably the number one topic around the world right now is the war in Russia and Ukraine. As this has gone on, and I've been consistent with the nightly stream, it's shocking when people are in the chat now going, hello from Manila, hello from Hong Kong, hello from Sydney. We're watching you. It's tomorrow already, 10 o'clock in the morning. And you just see it growing and growing and growing. It really does confirm that the world really is small, and it's connected through such a powerful. And the beauty of that power now is, especially for those of you in here for houses of worship, you know, I just remind you that our goal as houses of worship is to share the good news. That's it. We're to share the good news and make disciples. And what an incredible feeling that you have the ability not only in your local community to share the good news, but through such a simple thing as a phone or a high-tech, full-blown operation, you can share the good news with anyone, literally anyone around the world. It's a powerful thing, and it's a blessing, and we need to be very thankful for it.
And that's where I want to get a little nerdy here for you guys in here. So Greg mentioned about starting with an iPhone. I agree with that 100%. If you're in an area, especially since you're taking it with you everywhere, that's great. Now, the iPhone has a really good audio microphone built in. It has a really, really good setup with that. Android, I haven't used it in quite some time, so I really can't say one way or the other with that. But I do have one of these microphones that I do carry with me if I'm going on location with a gimbal with your iPhone, and this is the Rode video microphone, and you can get this for about $55. It won't break the bank, and it's something that you can use to get really good audio into your house of worship service. It'll hook to an iPad. They have different adapters, you know, for Android. So if you want to take a look at that, I can pop this in the chat room. It has a shock mount built on it. It uses a 3.5 millimeter jack. It's a really great option. And the other thing I would suggest, if you and I can pull up a link for this, is I use this from DJI. This is a gimbal. You can put your phone on it, and basically what it'll do is it'll hold your phones steady. It also has the ability to hook to a tripod, where you can put. I have one of these. This is what it comes with, so you got the extra handle for stability. But I shoot a lot now when I'm out in location with my iPhone because I always have it with me. And this is a great, option to have. And I think these run for about $250. I'm going to unscrew it in the bottom. You can hook it to a regular tripod. So let's say you're being mobile at a house of worship service. You can then hook this on top of a tripod, and it'll stay stable on it. It does run off of a chargeable battery that's built in, so you can. Greg, I think for roughly around $300, you could have a pretty killer setup when it comes to that.
Here's what you have done for that. You have stabilized your video with image stabilization, not only software wise but hardware wise, using that type of gimbal and stand. Set it on a table, do whatever you want to do. Secondly, you've increased the level of your audio. Now with the optics built into the iPhone, and you're connected either through 4G, 5G, LTE, or through a wireless router, honestly, you're smoking. I follow a guy out of Da Nang, Vietnam, and I enjoy some of his videos. I'm a history dork, and I appreciate what he does. But his video for his personal talks was so clear. He would be like sitting on his veranda in Vietnam and filming, talking about the history of Vietnam or looking at this monument. And I messaged him. I said, hey, man, your video production, I just want to compliment you on it. This is also what I do as a part of my life. And I have to know, what camera are you filming your stream with? It's shockingly good. He messaged me back pretty quickly. And he says, is it really that good? I said, dude, it's amazing. What camera is that? He goes, that's my iPhone 11. Dude, it was unbelievable.
Yeah,
I'm talking crisp Ola, man.
I think it's a great option for people that are looking, to do something like that. I pulled it up here on Amazon. This is one you can get it for $159. They have other ones. You don't have to get the top of the line, and I forgot mine does telescopic out like that. I just didn't pull it out, but $159, so less than $300, Greg, you can have stellar quality. And then if you want, say, like last year's model, which most people don't really even care, you can get them for about $99. So these are things that you can definitely check out.
Well, here's the other cool thing about gimbals like that. When you are live streaming like that, you have a portable setup. And some of the best live streaming that you can do is you really want to have some creativity with it, some movement, some overhead shots, or maybe walking around your building, or
Right.
if you're streaming from international and you've got maybe supporters and missionary supporters that are supporting you back in the U.S. or vice versa, you can just take it and walk around your property. The beautiful thing about the gimbal is now you have you basically have a boom arm for your camera, and
Yep.
you can get up shots, down shots, and really add a little bit of creativity to your video. And that's one thing that I would suggest, is start where you're at. And that may be a $250, $300 setup with an iPhone, a gimbal, and some internet connection, and maybe an Android. Steven and I both use iPhones, but you start there. But your next thing you want to think about is, okay, what can I do to just add a touch, a splash of creativity? Because as you add that, you will build your viewership. You will build people that are interested to come back, hit that subscribe, come back to your church channel, come back to your personal business channel, check out what you're doing. And once that happens, you start building a little bit. Then you start looking at maybe, okay, you know what? Let's upgrade this technology a little bit. Maybe let's go to 2 cameras, or
Right.
let's change to a video switcher, or whatever it may be for you. But you have to start where you're at and grow from that.
And you got to have something that's easy, like with running and gunning on the street or wherever it is that you're at. You're trying to do this. Having that ability to have something small like that, but still give you quality, like you said, with what that gentleman what you were watching,
Mm-hmm.
under $300, you get a decent shotgun mic that'll pick up the whole service. Yeah, it's not going to be as good of quality as if you plugged an audio mixer directly into the phone, but they do make things that you can do that. It's just simplified, and when you're in those areas, not everybody has access to a studio in those areas. Like Greg, I mean, some of the churches are underground. Some of these churches are,
Sure.
like you said, you were out in the jungle. Like some of them are like outside that they're doing. So, what are you going to do? Take a whole studio out there? So you kind of got to do what you can with what you have and try to make the most of it, right?
That's right. And the second thing that I would suggest is wherever you're starting at, let's just for today, we're starting level 1. A phone, maybe a microphone, and a gimbal, and that's where we're starting. Great. Master that. Master whatever software you're using to stream on your iPhone. Master how the microphone connects, how to get the best audio out of it. Master the gimbal. And once you've mastered that, you really can put out production that'll even shock yourself. But, wherever you're starting, master it. Stephen and PTZOptics, we're constantly, adjusting things that I do here through Stephen and these guys. I've been blessed to get into connection with a lot of guys, and they've helped me because they believe in what I'm doing. And honestly, right now, I've got a whole new call-in system, neural net, John Mahoney, that I'm implementing. I'm still learning it 30 days later, and I haven't made one interview on it yet because I want to master it first. So I'm still using vMix Call for my interviews, but I want to master what I'm doing, and I think that's just common sense and good due diligence for wherever you're at.
So what we want to do with this new forward march of Salt Talk, what we want to do is start bringing in some ways that can help you within your house of worship, even if it means I do some pre-recorded segments of setting up an audio mixer for you guys, because I know there's a lot of folks in the house of worship space that don't understand. I mean, one thing is video, and then there's another animal that's audio. Then you take into account the internet. The internet's going to overcompress things. It's going to make things sound one way to one person and another way to another person. And what you got to do is you got to kind of, unfortunately, find that happy medium. So there's different ways. I mean, I'm very versed in a lot of the different switcher technologies. Greg's been using vMix. There's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, so to speak. But the ultimate goal is to get you that high production, high-end video where you can within the house of worship. And I know routing audio in the church is not easy. Forget video. Just trying to get a good clean sound. I mean, you and your team at your church came over to our church and got us all set up, told us this is what you need to buy, this is how it is. And we spent a good 8 hours, 10 hours gutting all the audio stuff out, and you and your team got it all set up. And so those are the types of things I think I want to bring to the table with Salt Talk going forward. I want to be able to give some meat. Like today's more or less kind of getting to know you, kind of know where you stand. But I mean, for you guys in the chat room, I would like you to be able to put in there what you would like to see from us. Obviously, we don't want to come on here and just have a talk show back and forth. We want to give you guys some kind of sustenance or some kind of meat that, and if
Make it interactive.
Exactly. And if we can't get it for you, we'll find somebody, we'll bring in a guest that can. So we want to be able to do that. But I want to kind of take it up a notch if we can and really do some show and tell on how to do some of these things. And we may get Matt Davis on to talk networking. I mean, networking in churches is tough. But, I mean, a lot of, Greg, ultimately, not every church has access or a Rolodex of tech or geeky people at their fingertips, and a lot of them are trying to figure this out. And I think that's where this show, I want to bridge the gap of that to be a resource for these churches.
Well, I think you set the stage with the statement you made. Greg and his team came over to our church to help us with our audio, and 8 or 10 hours, and we redid the audio completely. Now, let me flip the page on that. Stephen came over to our church, and with PTZOptics, they flipped the table for our video production. I mean, like, audio is king, and we're really good at it. Video, we struggled at, and Stephen and PTZOptics helped us immensely with that. They mastered the video for their house of worship, but audio was struggling. We went there and took care of that. I personally think that even in the community that you're in, whether it's Finland, Norway, we've got people in here from Africa, we've got people from France, it doesn't matter, US, Canada, wherever you're at, there is a circle of people in your local community that may know just a little bit more than you. And that's the best thing that could happen. And they do not even have to be in the church world. Maybe you're at the cafe downtown and you're sipping on an espresso and you hear somebody talking over at another table. Hey, well, I was doing some camera work for this business downtown. Man, go over to that table and say, hey, do you know cameras? Our church, we're trying to get better. Can I pick your brain for a second? And you will be shocked how, number one, people are willing to help. And number two, that we're talking about houses of worship here. God may just open a door to bring new relationships into your circle that will help you get better. And that's what I think you're trying to accomplish here. And I'm going to help you on Salt Talk is to be a resource to the international community and, not only here in America where we're from, but the international community to help you guys accomplish what God has put in your heart and also, your personal visions and aspirations.
So Fernando says, excuse me, in the chat room, he says brands have 2-to-1 wireless mics. I guess it's some kind of splitter where he's taken 2 wireless mics into one, that we can use one on the main mic of the room and the other on speakers that's simply unclipping from one to next speaker. Simple. Receiver connected to the recording device, whatever that is. So essentially he's using a receiver that's connected, say, to an iPhone, and he's able to split that and use 2 wireless mics, one picking up the room, one picking up speakers, so then he can do a little bit of mixing. But I mean, if that's working for you, rock and roll, man.
Yeah. As we've said, the Bible says we grow faith to faith and glory to glory. And I think with technology, we also grow step by step. And a lot of times it's faith to faith because we explore things, we see if it works. And I think with Fernando's comment there,
speakers are the persons, he said, meaning
speakers are the person. I understood him.
Right. Yeah, that's what I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. What works for example, Stephen, your church may not necessarily work for my church, but the concepts are there.
Right.
So you just because we run this setup A at our church, setup B, although they go, well, that setup A is great, it may not be the best for you. So as you grow and as you learn, you really want to get to the thing and the place with your streaming, whether it's personal, church, business, whatever it may be, what works best for you? What can you master? What works best for your team and their ability levels to put out the highest quality possible? And that's the sweet spot we strive to get to.
And I said that in the worship summit room. I was handling the audio room, and just basically, I remember I pinged you on a few things because I was asking, how you were doing it. I know you were using some things, and we can even get into some of that here in the next couple episodes. But I think if you lean on the people that you have around you, you can talk amongst the different people here that we're creating this community, if you will. That we're able to do this. We're able to ping off of each other, and I'm just excited. I want to see where this can go, and a lot of these guys, they're putting in a lot of good information here. Somebody just put in here the Rode Wireless to Go mic here. It says Rode Wireless Go 2 has 2 transmitters and 1 receiver. So there you go. So that's an option. So you one for the speakers, the guys that are whoever's talking, and one for room mic. So that'll work. So and he's using a laptop, laptop camera he's doing it with. So it's great.
Stephen, let me say it this way, and I know we're getting close to an hour. You'll never accomplish anything if you do not start somewhere. it's easy just to sit around and talk about, oh, we're gonna this year we're gonna increase our technology. This year we're going to improve our stream, or maybe this year we're gonna start streaming. We're gonna go into a new avenue, and this can be personal work or business. But unless you do it, you're only talking about it. And you may say, well, we've got to get this piece of equipment and that piece of equipment. Why?
Just do it.
Why do you have to get that piece and that piece? Start where you're at. Start with what you have. And here's the beauty of starting where you're at with what you have. 6 months down the road, a year down the road, 2 years down the road, you're going to look back and say, oh my goodness, look how far we have come. I'll give you this example. About, what was it, Stephen? About 3 days ago, I had a Facebook memory come up.
Yep.
And I shared it. And I shared it with some guys that have imparted, and helped me. I shared it with Stephen. I shared it with John Mahoney. I shared it with Joe DeMax. I shared it with Marty McFadden. All these guys that have made a difference in my life, my streaming life, over the last 2+ years. And the memory was one of my first streams, and I'm literally sitting on the camera, already streaming, and I'm shaving. And I think now, what on earth was I doing shaving on the camera? Had my little electric razor going, and then I just said, okay, guys, there it is.
I pulled this up because I wanted people
do.
to see where
What?
your studio has come from.
This is where I started. Look, I'm shaving. What in the heck am I doing?
Maybe you forgot that the camera was on, but if you look at the difference,
I forgot
even in your face, like the video, like you were really washed out, really heavily.
Oh yeah. Look at that background. That's legendary.
The choppy green screen. So he went from that
the point being,
to this.
The point being, exactly. The point being, I went from that, which was one little webcam on a computer, and we go to this, and that's 2 years. 2 years. But we started somewhere, and very thankful. So start where you're at, and then that gives you the joy, just like Stephen and I experienced, because Stephen knows. That's when Stephen and I started working together. He saw that, and he actually messaged me and goes, dude, you're like really good on camera, and you're a good communicator, but your production stinks. And you know what? I want to help you. And that started our journey. You will have the same people in your life. And then you get to celebrate. Months go by, and you look back where you were, and you say, okay, thank God. Thank this person, and thank that person. We've made it to a new level.
And you use you use each other's strong points. I mean, you've been over here helped me with audio many times, so
sure.
It's one of those. Last question in the chat room, then we're gonna have to wrap this up. Actually, there's a comment and a question, so let's hit the comment real quick, and then we'll wrap this up here a little bit. I'm just gonna go. IGCC says we would have to get we would have got to the live stream eventually, but the pandemic pushed us to go where we never expected. I think that did that for a lot of folks, whether they were ready or not. Here it comes, right? Iran Ilutz, is that how you say it? Come on, Mr. International.
Iran Ilutz.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Eren Ilutz.
Okay.
And if we're mispronouncing your name, all apologies. We're doing our best.
Does anybody here familiar with EV Mux? I've played with it before, but I'm not super familiar with it in that aspect like I am some of the other software. But if you're trying to learn how to use it, maybe somebody in here can help you, or check out YouTube to try to find some. Robert Reynolds says, a monk once said, start where you are, use what you have, and no one can fault you. And I would agree with that statement.
By the way, Robert Reynolds, nice car.
Yeah, he puts that on there. So
that was awesome.
Well, guys, we're going to have to wrap this up. You guys, if you want to see more of what Greg's doing, you can feel free to head on over to youtube.com/Greg Terry Experience. And let me see if I can pull this up.
9 o'clock Eastern each night. 6 o'clock California time each night.
If you want to see any of the past interviews and different things that he's been doing, you can head over to his YouTube channel. And Greg, I really appreciate you stepping up and jumping in here to give me a hand, man.
Hey, we partners, buddy. It's like this, guys. This is what you know, and we got to go, but this is friendship. You know, I told Steven, I said, listen, PTZOptics and you have been very good to me. So you do not even have to ask me. You know, as long as my schedule's free, I will help any way I can, whether it be through the worship summits or live streams or audio. And he called me a few weeks ago and goes, you know, I'm talking to the company and I think we're going to adjust Salt Talk and I would like to invite you to come on and be my co-host. And I told him, I said, Steven, I thought we had this conversation like a year ago. You do not have to call me and ask me. The answer is yes. As long as I'm available, love to be a part. I believe in you and I believe in PTZOptics. So thank you, guys.
Well, we appreciate everybody coming out here, and you guys make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for the PTZOptics. Huddle Cam, we have another channel, Huddle Cam, and also Stream Geeks. Make sure you get over there, like those. If you want awesome content, we've been pumping it out. We have a bunch of teams creating content here. As I mentioned earlier in the program, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, we have Tess and the team from Huddle Cam and PTZOptics. They will be talking and giving you a sneak peek into NAB 2022 and what the plan is and what they're going to be doing out in Las Vegas this year. And then the third Friday of this month, we have the Tech Town Hall. And we'll be back again next month, the last Tuesday of the month, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for Salt Talk. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time.